Here's an old time joke for you. That's what Dick Vitale said when he was accused of copyright infringement. Parody, baby. There's like maybe 2 people would get that joke.
Yeah. What happened to him anyway? Is he still with
I don't know. What happened to Dick Vitale? He was huge when I was in college.
Yep. Says that he's 77 years old and still with us.
Dickie V.
And
I don't think that should be surprising. I think people on average live.
All right, still works for ESPN.
Fine.
oh, he's still doing stuff? Cool.
I guess he's just not doing as many.
He wrote a kid's book called Dickie V's ABCs and 1, 2, 3s.
I guess he's just not doing as much color commentary, which is why I don't see him.
He has a book called Tourney.
Primarily paired with play-by-play announcers Mike Patrick in ACC games and Dan Schulman for Saturday primetime. He appears as an in-studio analyst with Reese Davis. I just don't watch enough college basketball. That's why I didn't know what was going on with him.
Yep. He wrote a book in '88 called Vitale.
Kid's book?
Yeah. No, that was one just for him, I guess. The kid's book was 2010. That's the last thing he's done.
Last book he's done.
Last book, right.
Right. He's probably done lots of other things.
Lots of other stuff.
Eating breakfast.
It's Dick Vitale.
Driven to the corner store.
That guy eats all sorts of breakfast.
What do you call a corner store? There in Salt Lake City.
You call it well, it depends. Like if it has a name. Like if we have these places called Maverick, it used to be Circle K, and they bought them all out.
Oh, okay. I remember Circle K's.
And so if you say where are you going, I'll just run over to the Maverick like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah, it's mostly names. Like Kim's going to Sprouts, or I need to run to Harmon's or Safeway, or whatever.
We used to call them convenience stores when I was growing up, but then when I got to San Francisco, they became corner stores. Seemed to be the more common usage.
Yeah, I don't feel like we've said that much lately, but I could be wrong. I don't know what the kids call them.
Kids call it places where old people shop because I get everything on Amazon.
7-Eleven's where we used to call it the Sev when I was in high school.
You did. You called it the Sev?
Go to the Sev.
That's
Everybody called it that. I hated it, but everyone did it, so I think I probably joined in.
They call them bodegas in New York sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. Or they'll call them, occasionally they'll call them mercados out here, but
Mercados.
Growing up, they were all liquor stores. It didn't matter. It was just a liquor store. Because invariably, 99% of them had some sort of
liquor, yeah.
Back shop.
7-Eleven to us were a place to play ice climbers, a place to get a Slurpee, and a place to get a Charleston chew. That was pretty much my whole rotation there.
All right, well, now it is a place to do a daily tech news show.
Excellent.
Let's do this. Here we go.
Who's responsible for this? If you went to dailytechnewsshow.com/support and gave a nickel a day, then it must be you. Thank you.
This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, June 22nd, 2016. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Scott Johnson. How are you, Scott Johnson?
I'm fantastic, Tom Merritt. It's Tuesday. That means Scott Johnson and Tom Merritt are together at last.
We are very excited about deep-fried macaroni and cheese coming to Burger King.
Oof.
But we will try to set aside that expectation. You're not as excited, are you?
I want to be. I really do want to be, but I feel like this is a thing I would have been super jazzed about in my teens, and now it just sounds like a stomach ache waiting for me.
Yeah, probably. You're probably right about that. No, we are seriously going to talk about a proposal in Europe's parliament to grant robots electronic personhood. Not a joke now. Neither was the deep-fried macaroni and cheese, actually. Yeah, that's going to be our main story. First, though, C-SPAN isn't allowed to turn its cameras on during a U.S. House of Representatives sit-in, so it's rebroadcasting feeds from Periscope and Facebook Live instead. Here are the rest of the top stories. Amazon announced a new Kindle starting at $80 or £60 UK if you agree to receive ads on the device. If you want one without the promotions, as they call it, it's $100. The new entry-level Kindle adds Bluetooth audio support, the ability to email your notes and highlights to yourself, doubles your storage to 4 gigabytes, and has a easy-to-hold, rounded design. You can pre-order it in black or white today for shipping in the next few weeks. They also added a white version of the Paperwhite for $120 or £110.
Do you? This is like a return to the white design. They haven't had this. I can't think of another Kindle since the one that had the crazy keyboard on it, where that wasn't just a straight up black device. I'm excited about the white.
I am glad you're excited. I haven't used a Kindle since the first one. I'm not even joking. Like I think I have it sitting up there on the.
We've talked about this. You've been able to pretty comfortably jump to using tablets and phones to pick up your book wherever you're at. You like the syncing, all that stuff's great. You still use Kindle as a service, but not necessarily the devices. My life was utterly changed by the most recent Paperwhite before this one. That's the one I got, I guess, a year ago, and I love that thing. So I don't know what it is. I think I just appreciate e-ink in a way that I didn't think I would. And I kind of put that off for a long time, and I can read longer than I could when I was reading on tablets. So I'm all about these Kindles doing well. I hope they keep iterating and making them nicer and cheaper and all that.
And you are not the only one. I feel like the outsider here because it seems like everybody's really excited that Amazon added this new Kindle, and it's not even that big of a deal. Like you said, it's like, ooh, there's now a white and a black one, and it's got 4 gigabytes of storage. And the Bluetooth audio is the biggest significant advance. If you are someone who relies on it to read the text, the text-to-speech functionality for whatever reason, that's a big deal. Now you can use your wireless Bluetooth headphones with that, or a speaker, or something like that. But I mean, I guess they sell a lot of these things, so there's a lot of people out there, which means a new version would make those people excited.
It strikes me as iteration means progress, and it means they're committed to the format. And so when you see even small incremental changes, even ones I'm not planning on buying, it says to me there's something healthy happening, and I think that's good for the e-reading public in general. Dropbox, speaking of iteration, Dropbox, who's always iterating, business users can now use the iOS mobile app to scan documents and upload them directly to Dropbox. It's got optical character recognition, will make the documents searchable within the app, so you'll be able to search in the text that you've scanned. A big plus button allows the creation of Word, PowerPoint, or Excel documents, most common formats, obviously. You can now look at previous versions of the documents for easier reversion, so you can kind of jump back and forth. Dropbox did not say when this is going to come to Android, however, but iOS, ready to roll. Let's go. I use Dropbox a lot on iOS, mostly just for I need to quickly send out a link to a file I created for somebody who didn't get the email or whatever. I'm thinking I might use this this feature. This is something I could actually mess with and get some actual value out of. Yeah,
you do need a business account. That's going to be the downer for a lot of people that otherwise might be excited about this. But I have a business account for a Daily Tech News show, so I am excited about this. And now I understand how it feels when someone's not as excited about your new ebook excitement, because I'm sure not that many people are excited about this. But I do use Cam Scanner, an iOS app, to do a lot of document scanning and putting them into Dropbox, and it allows you to upload to Dropbox. So I guess it's nice that I'll be able to do this directly in Dropbox, and I probably will, although Cam Scanner can allow me to do Google Drive and Box, and so maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should continue to use the third-party device that gives me more options rather than Dropbox built-in version. I don't know how often I would use my phone to create a Word document, but it does show that Microsoft is definitely saying, yeah, if you don't want to use OneDrive, that's fine. We're still going to support all kinds of things, and they've been integrating more and more with Dropbox as time goes on. So the previous versions thing is the best thing, because it used to be you'd have to revert, then you look at it like, oh, nope, that's not far enough. Revert again. Well, that was too far. Let's go forward. This allows you to just preview and find exactly the document version that you're looking for, and you can revert. Right
I've been a Genius Scan user for a long time, and I don't think I've ever used it for OCR. I don't even know if it does it, but it has built-in Touch ID and some other nice security features. So yeah, whether this replaces my workflow when I'm trying to scan in things and create PDFs, I don't know. But the more the merrier, I say, and the more Dropbox gives me options, the happier I'll be as a user. As a business user as well.
Tesla announced an offer to buy SolarCity. That's the company that goes around and installs solar panels on houses. If it doesn't strike you as unusual that Tesla would offer to buy SolarCity, that's because you forgot Elon Musk founded both of them. He's the CEO of Tesla and the chairman of SolarCity. Tesla would buy SolarCity for between $2.59 billion and $2.78 billion, depending on how the agreement works out. Musk has recused himself from considerations on this, as has another member of both boards, so that only the people who don't have a stake in the other will be making the decision. SolarCity stock has been declining as its debts increase. It got a little boost from this, but then it kind of fell back down somewhat to earth. In a statement, Tesla pitched itself as becoming the world's only vertically integrated energy company, and it's worth noting that Musk owns 22% of SolarCity and 21% of Tesla. So him recusing from this takes a big chunk of the shareholder vote away and leaves it in the hands of others.
I wonder how many people are surprised to hear that Elon Musk only owns 22% of one company he founded and 21% of the one that one associates him with. Those must sound funny to people.
He's still the biggest shareholder in both.
Yeah,
but
sure.
He's not a majority owner of either.
22% of multi-billion-dollar companies is a very nice percentage. But anyway, I actually kind of agree. Seems like a good marriage. I mean, they're building batteries at that plant in Nevada. We talked about it a little bit this morning on TMS, and those are being, it would make sense to utilize all of those technologies and your production line and everything else to sort of feed companies that feel like they're in a similar business, which is non-traditional energy solutions. So I don't think it's a problem, and if he's recusing himself, all the better. That means less weird entanglements and strange
sure
conflicts. So that's good.
Horrible idea. The only reason I'm just going to take this side of the argument. The only reason for this to happen is to save Musk's money. SolarCity's stock has been declining because of huge debt. Tesla's actually not doing so great on debt. The last thing it needs is to take on more debt. So really, it's a way for Musk to elegantly bail out SolarCity without losing a bunch of money personally. The Bloomberg article I read today says it sounds like the shareholders of both Tesla and SolarCity are not terribly excited about this, and that would make sense for the Tesla side because Tesla stock dropped on this news. The only reason SolarCity got a bump was because people thought, well, crap, he's going to buy this stock for more than it's worth right now. I might as well jump in and get it at the discount.
Yeah, I agree. You're right, and you often are right about these sorts of things. But silver lining here, at least they're kind of markets that aren't exactly opposed to each other. It's not like you're asking SpaceX and a food company to join forces. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. The solar panels on the superchargers and stuff like that. But I'm just trying to point out that this isn't entirely like a merger that would happen without Elon Musk involved. I don't think so.
Exactly. In a photo of Mark Zuckerberg celebrating Instagram's 500 millionth user, think of that for a second. 500 million people using Instagram. That's huge. A laptop can be seen in the background with something like tape covering the mic and camera. Security company Symantec warned users not to keep computers with webcams in their bedrooms on, or to keep them in their bedrooms at all, and, quote, not to do anything in front of one that they wouldn't want the world to see, unquote, except DTNS, which we're obviously broadcasting right now via camera.
Well, we want the world to see it, so that makes it fits.
Of course, but I've got a question for you, and I don't know if we have the answer either individually or collectively here, but if my camera's plugged in, but we're not talking, and it's showing, little indicator light is off, there's no services connected to it for VoIP or, video or anything, there has to be a way to tell if your camera's broadcasting something. Like, everyone talks about it in a conspiratorial way, but can't you tell? We can figure out if it's doing it or not. We can see what signals are going and coming.
Here's the thing. A friend of mine mocked me because I had a Post-it note over my camera one time. Yeah. And he's like, come on, man. People are not interested in getting to your camera. And I said, sure, you're probably right. Most of us don't have to worry about this. But I am also afraid that I will accidentally have that thing on when I shouldn't.
That's a good point.
So here's a way to make sure that neither of those things happen. And yeah, sometimes it is seen as a mark of ultra paranoia to put the thing over the camera, but in cases like, I don't know, you're the CEO of Facebook taking your laptop into a secure area that has prototype code and whiteboards and stuff, you want to make sure that you don't accidentally have that camera on as well. So there's that side of it is like, hey, I'm preventing myself from doing something dumb.
Yeah.
The other side of it too is you may see hacks out there that can turn on the camera quickly, grab a photo, and turn itself off in such a fast manner that you'd never even see the light turn on. There's other more sophisticated hacks that can maybe capture things without that light going on and letting you know it's there. So it's all about how much paranoia you have.
I will tell you, you had me at the point in the conversation where we were talking about Mark Zuckerberg and his tape, and you saying it is often thought of as the mark of paranoia, and that's kind of where my brain said, "Yep, we're talking."
That's his new nickname, Mark of Paranoia Zuckerberg. And you know what? It served him well. So don't mock him for it. Don't mark him for it either. I wonder more about the microphone, because putting tape over a microphone maybe muffles it a little.
Mm-hmm.
It's not much of an impedance. Like, you put a Post-it note over a camera, you will see only yellow or whatever color the Post-it note is.
Yeah.
You put tape over a microphone, you can still hear things.
Right, and you and I are really screwed because we've got big old amplified mics sticking out of our stuff. So if we're saying stuff
Again,
yeah,
on purpose,
right?
because we want the world to hear us. But yeah, what if we leave these things on? But just mic on a laptop, you're not really reducing the amount of audio that it can capture.
You can look at it one other way, and that is if Mark Zuckerberg is doing it, and I actually believe in my heart of hearts that what you said about him being around sensitive stuff, code on whiteboards, in rooms where it matters what's being said or shown, and not wanting to have any reason why anything leaks, that makes all the sense in the world to me and doesn't speak of paranoia as much as it does about security and him wanting to keep what's theirs. I get that. But the idea that Mark Zuckerberg, one of the leading CEOs of companies anywhere in the world dealing with technology, thinks it's important to do that to his, maybe there's a message in that.
Yeah, the message is,
yeah.
Sure, you can use as your password, but you better cover that camera.
I'm just saying, he is like, if he may know things, is all I'm saying. Like, you can connect some other conspiracy theories to this one, and all of a sudden they all make a bunch of sense, and Tom Hanks is going to come to your museum and find out why you died with a cross on your face.
Now, security flaw that is more likely to be of concern to you, or if you're watching this show, more likely to be of concern of your friends and relatives. BBC reporting on a new scam that's similar to the one that would cold call people and say, hey, we've detected a virus on your Windows machine, and people are like, I use a Mac, and then they'd hang up. The BBC reports on a new scam involving malware that launches pop-ups. So you're just browsing around. Maybe you hit a weird website. Maybe they load a page in the background through an ad somehow. But whatever happens, a pop-up comes up that appears to be from your ISP, and they can tell by your IP address which ISP you have. So it's going to be the right name, the right logo. It's going to look super official, and the pop-up claims that malware has been detected and puts a phone number up for you to call for immediate assistance. Callers then connect with people who sound like they operate a call center. You know, thank you for calling Comcast. Thank you for calling Time Warner. This is our rescue team. We'll connect you with a technician. They are then maneuvered into downloading Trojans or giving out credit card information, just like the cold call things that we're more familiar with. Malwarebytes has found scams impersonating Verizon, AT&T, Time Warner, BT, PlusNet, Sky, and TalkTalk.
Dang. Whew. Keep that over there, Britain. I don't want any of that. That sounds awful. It sounds like this
Verizon, AT&T, or Time Warner.
Well, I have. I mean, I guess I have Comcast here, which I don't see on this list, which doesn't mean anything.
Not yet.
But
Yeah.
Not yet is the operative term. But yeah, that's this kind of stuff really freaks me out, because it's one thing to accidentally click on a link or even purposely click on something you think is legit in an email, and then getting infected and going, oh shoot, I should have known, and kind of dealing with that. But when there are flesh and blood people on a phone talking to you in completely deceptive ways, for some reason the deception for me goes way darker.
Yeah.
And I don't like that at all. That's creepy and weird, and I don't want anything to do with it. So if you get it that way, don't click it, people. Learn from the errors of other people.
Don't call it, right? I mean, the real thing about this is anybody can buy an ad, right? You just go into an online marketplace, you buy an ad. You can do it through Google. Google has safety precautions in place, and they're pretty good about kicking out malware ads, but it's not hard to get a 1x1 pixel in one of those ads that can report back your ISP and then allow you to figure out how to deliver a pop-up to that person. It's not difficult. So anybody could get this, right? If you're not running NoScript or Privacy Badger or something like that. In other words, if you're playing by the rules of big publishing, you're more likely to get this pop-up because you're not blocking ads. Now, once you get it, here's the thing, and here's the key message to tell people: never call a number that shows up in a pop-up or in an email. Always contact your bank, your ISP, anybody who wants personal information from you from a reliable number that you already have, and a for sure bill that you get, or going to their website, making sure it's their website, whatever it is. But if a pop-up says call a number, don't call that number. Call the real number if you're really convinced it's for real, but don't call that number. Don't click on a link in an email. Don't call a number from an email. Make sure that you're contacting the actual place, because these people are going to be impossible to tell. Once you've called the number, they're going to pretend like they're your Comcast agent. And the other tip-off is if they start to ask you for things like your account number, and your credit card number. Once they start asking for that, that's not something your ISP might not ask you. They might ask you to verify your account number sometimes, but as soon as they're asking you for personal information, you want to be extra sure you're talking to the right people.
Yeah, your alarm should go off, and I'm just thinking about my mom this entire time. She's going to fall for this one if it happens to her, and I'm really hoping it doesn't.
Well, my father-in-law got the cold call. He told me about it. He almost fell for it. He went to the computer and was navigating, doing what they said, and then he got suspicious at one point when they asked for his credit card number. And he's like, no, I'm going to do that. So hopefully your mom's internal suspicion would pop up when they started to ask for the stuff that they need. Yeah. But yeah, it's tough.
I don't know if my mom would do that or not. All right, sorry, Mom, if you're listening. Just give me a call and let me know, and I'll take it.
By the way, Big Jim is in the chat room here campaigning. He's like, let's waste their time. If anybody sees this pop up, like, call them and keep them on the line for a long time. I don't know if that would really do anything. But
yeah, maybe. I don't know. You organize your own private thing. Let us know how it goes. Reuters reports data from the International Federation of Robotics. That is such a cool sounding thing. Shows global industrial robot sales slowed to 12% in 2015. That is a drop from 20% in 2014. It's a little higher a year before. China's growth slowed, dragging down the global number as China accounts for more than 25%, a full fourth of all of it, of the 248,000 industrial robots that are sold. South Korea was the second biggest robot maker.
Sony's a Japanese company.
Yeah,
you should have said Samsung.
Sony, South Korea get mixed up all the time. They are the second biggest robot market, followed in order by Japan, the U.S., and Germany. Robot sales doubled in Mexico, though, and this is due to its expanding automotive production, which makes sense down there. There's a lot going on down there with automotive stuff. So it's interesting. Do you think the slowdown means anything other than, hey, shifts in the market?
No, probably not. I don't think it says too much about robotics and the technology of robotics. It probably says more about China's economics situation and the fact that, they were expected to slow down. They couldn't keep double-digit economic growth forever. And so that slowdown is going to hit factories and factory building and construction. Where robotic construction is booming is places like Mexico and India, where factories are being built and the jobs are starting to move. So just like jobs moved to China when labor there was super cheap, as the labor gets more expensive there, it moves elsewhere, and the robots follow. The robots work for cheap too.
Yeah. Also, who makes the robots? I assume much of them are being made in the countries that use them the most, or if not, they're being imported from ones that do. Like China's probably manufacturing a lot of this stuff.
China's trying to bring more robotic manufacturing domestically, but they're actually made a lot of times in Europe. There's a German company called KUKA that is the target of a takeover bid by China's Midea, and there are several other robotics companies in Europe. And also here in the United States that make these. The car industry really dominates these kinds of robots.
Oh, sure, yeah, those big soldering arms and all that. But my head starts going chicken and egg big time when I start thinking about, all right, well, they're making automated robots for this industry. Who's making those robots? Are they being built by other robots? And are those industrial robots built by other industrial? Like at what point is just a dude making
turtles all the way down, Scott?
Weirds me out for some reason.
At some point humans have to make something, and that still happens.
There you go.
Finally, an amendment to the U.S. Criminal Justice Appropriations Bill to allow the FBI to access a person's internet browsing history, email account data, and other electronic communications without a court order in terrorism and spy cases did not get the 60 votes needed in the United States Senate to pass. It ended with a 58 to 38 vote, so it got majority approval, but not enough to pass, and therefore it will not be amended, although there are other efforts to get that kind of national security letter level appropriateness for these kinds of bills. Also, the lone wolf provision here that would allow you to go after somebody even if they aren't associated with a terrorist group did not pass, although that is part and parcel to other bills that already exist. Thanks to all those who participate in our subreddit. Submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. It absolutely helps us make a better show every day. TG Stellar, Sewell 2, Omertron, Flo Bama, the Suck, except spelled TEHSUCK, are all in there doing their best to help make a better show. You can too. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. And that's a look at the top stories. All right, let's get to this proposal. Non-binding draft resolution. Keep that in mind. Any resolution the European Parliament passes is non-binding because they cannot create legislation yet in the European Union. But a resolution dated May 31st is very long, but somewhere in there it says that, quote, at least the most sophisticated autonomous robots could be established as having the status of electronic persons with specific rights and obligations, including that of making good any damage that they may cause, and applying electronic personality to cases where robots make smart autonomous decisions or otherwise interact with third parties independently.
Wow.
So if I'm reading this right, Scott, this says they would be granted electronic personhood with the rights and obligations, and they would have to pay for any damages they cause, and they would have to testify? What does apply electronic personality to cases mean?
I don't know, but we talked about this a bit this morning, and it's been eating at me all day because I'm trying to get my head around how you would start to apply what is basically some basic human rights or human expectations onto machines. Obviously, they're much more specific and narrow. They're not saying that they have, it's not the same as human rights necessarily. They're not going to demand 8-hour days and vacation time and everything else. But all those questions keep coming up, and I start thinking about all the specifics, and one of them seems really plain and obvious that's hard to answer, which is how does it account for paying for any damage it does? Does it mean monetarily? Does it mean emotionally? Like, if the damage is I knocked a dude's head off while he was running past and that wasn't supposed to happen, well, who's paying for those medical?
I was not programmed to regret.
Exactly. So it is an odd, I won't say precedent, but it's an odd thing, but it also, in a weird way, feels important to me. It feels like we're making a step that maybe won't matter in 50 or 60 years, or won't matter until 50 or 60 years come to pass. But
yeah, somehow
we're going to get to the point where we have to start thinking about what rights do they have. And I'm not really talking about this simplified kind of Star Trek way about what if they had feelings. I just mean, in general, they're these creatures, really, that we've created that do things in a way that you could argue, yeah, they need to have some quote-unquote rights and some responsibilities, even if those drastically differ from that of human beings. And it's all really fascinating to me.
Yeah, as far as the liability goes, there's a lot of provisions here about insurance. There would be a requirement for robot owners to buy insurance, to contribute to a group fund to pay out limited liability. There'd be robot registrations, the creation of a European robotics agency for technical, ethical, and regulatory expertise, and all robots would have to be registered. They're already going X-Men on us.
Oh, man.
Or Civil War, depending on how you want to look at it.
Well, and if you're Elon Musk or somebody who worries about the future of AI, and depending on how far you take that worry, what we could be doing now is laying the groundwork for what happens in the future. And if what truly happens in the future is autonomous robots do become thinking, perhaps even feeling machines, which is really not all that different than what we are, and we figure out a way to cross that divide, we need to be careful. Like, we can't. That's going to be a real controversial moment. I know this is the sci-fi part of me.
Settle down, Scott. Settle down.
Movies. It's too many movies, is what I'm saying.
Here's the thing. You're falling on the Mady Delvaux side of this issue. Mady Delvaux is the MP from Luxembourg who is the rapporteur for this resolution. She says, if we do not create the legal framework for the development of robotics, our market will be invaded by robots from outside. That's what she wrote. In fact, let me read you this. The motion actually starts, whereas from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein's monster, By the way, I give her points for getting that right. To the classical myth of Pygmalion, through the story of Prague's Golem, to the robot of Karel Čapek, who coined the word, people have fantasized about the possibility of building intelligent machines more often than not androids with human features.
Yeah.
Also quotes Asimov's 3 laws, which she says in a weird way are flawed, and therefore we have to investigate ethics. I think she's overreacting. Germany's Patrick Schwarzkopf of the German VDMA group, they represent a lot of these large robot manufacturers, says, look, this isn't a bad idea. He's like, Scott, you're right. We need to be thinking about this. But Schwarzkopf says in 50 years, not in 10 years.
So in her case, she's doing like me. Well, and by the way, all the references she pointed to are all fiction, which I think says a lot about where some of our heads are at on this. I just feel like we are a race of human beings with a long history of poor decisions when it comes to you look different than me, you act different than me, therefore I'm in the majority and you should be subjugated or whatever. And again, I don't want to take it too far, but it does seem like an opportunity for humanity to change that cycle a tiny bit and get ahead of the game and make good decisions now that are also good later, that aren't too crazy and drastic and acting like our toasters are going to rise up and kill us or something dumb like that.
Well, and maybe that's why this is good, as overwritten as it is. It is beginning the conversation. It's not even beginning. The conversation's been going on, but it's bringing that conversation to a new level of awareness. The one thing that I liked in here is a beginning definition for smart autonomous robots. Tell me what you think of this.
All right.
Acquires autonomy through sensors and or by exchanging data with its environment and trades and analyzes data. Is self-learning, which is noted as an optional criterion, but I think that's a good one, and has a physical support. So in other words, it's a robot. It's not just an AI. So this is differentiating this from just an AI sitting in a server somewhere.
Sure, they're not saying, well, only the ones that talk or only the ones that weren't programmed to love or whatever millions of variations you could say. I just think it's I don't know, it just seems like this is, I'm not saying this is a turning point in history or anything.
Right.
But part of me wants to say that. Part of me wants to say, oh my gosh, this is humanity seeing the writing on the wall and knowing that we're just going to get better in this, and one day it's Alexa and the next day it's a dog that brings me food or whatever.
Let's think about it ahead of time, right?
Yeah, let's be like ahead of this thing. And I don't want to be paranoid, and I'm not about this sort of thing. I'm actually really excited about a future that includes this sort of thing, but it could become a thing. People are already mad that they're taking their jobs in the first place.
But there's argument about whether they are or not. And we don't need to get into that argument right now necessarily. A lot of people saying, well, no, what happens is a robot takes a job, and that opens up better jobs for people to go get.
Yeah, it's the Lotus 1, 2, 3 rule. It's all the accountants thought that they were going to have their jobs stripped away, and instead it created a whole new industry. So I totally agree with that. But you could see how some may be concerned about it. And isn't part of this proposition or part of this resolution, as non-binding as it may be, part of it is they want funds to go to the social good, in that those who used to occupy jobs like this and are now older and don't have skills in other areas, that maybe this... There's
so many provisions. This thing is so long. If you go, we'll have a link in the show notes. Go read it. They do consider a lot of those elements of things. Don't forget, also, 2012, South Korea issued its own robot ethics charter, and coincidentally today, Google's Chris Olah at Google Research posted 5 long-term research questions for AI, essentially 5 rules that we need to think about for AI. So they are, 1, avoiding negative side effects. AI shouldn't disturb its environment while completing a set of tasks. 2, avoiding rewarding hacking. So AI should complete tasks properly rather than using workarounds. AI aren't allowed to hack, even for good. Cleaning robot that covers dirt with material it doesn't recognize as dirt is not doing the job, is the example. Scalable oversight. AI shouldn't need constant feedback or input. Safe exploration. It shouldn't damage itself or the environment while learning. And robustness to distributional shift, which essentially means it should be able to recognize a new environment and still perform effectively.
I just think if you could go back 15 years and talk to the Tom Merritt or the Scott Johnson of that era, of 2001, and say, guess what? Countries and European unions and organizations like Google are going to have charters and recommendations and proposals to suggest how we need to be treating our robots. I think that would sound cray-cray, freaking science fiction weirdo to us in 2001. So either way, I'm bullish on it. I'm excited about it. And I just love the idea that we can actually start thinking about this, because stuff's getting to a point where we kind of we have to start thinking.
I think Matey is a little early on the robot thing, but the AI part of it I think is spot on. Yeah. And I know a lot of you out there are like, Asimov's laws. If you haven't heard, Asimov's laws are fiction. They're bunk for real AIs and robots. Roger Clark said it is not possible to reliably constrain the behavior of robots by devising and applying a set of rules like that. And in fact, he points out that in Asimov's later novels, the robots inflicted their worst long-term harm by obeying the 3 laws. So the 3 laws, they were a great thought experiment. That's not what's happening here. These are real considerations. They're not laws. They're saying these are the things we need to pay attention to.
Yeah, if we only needed 3 laws, humans would already have just 3. So why would we think robots would be any different?
No, it's totally it right there. All right, let's get to our pick of the day. Dean from rainy Perth, Australia wants to recommend the Purism computer line of products, which promise to have no tracking and respect your privacy. Its Librem line of products are supposedly endorsed by the Free Software Foundation. I say supposedly because they say it, but I didn't go check it. And Richard Stallman. All devices support Core Boot, and the operating system based on Debian is available as a standalone free download in case you want to try it out on either bare metal or on a hypervisor host. You can go to puri.sm if you want to learn more. They've got some crowdfunding efforts to make even more devices. So thank you, Dean, for the pick.
Oh, very cool.
.sm. Send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. We want to hear what you think is interesting. It's how we share it with other people. The reason we do the picks is we don't take ads. So some people are like, yeah, but that's sometimes how I find out about the coolest stuff. So we give you the chance to tell each other about coolest stuff, and sometimes we pick some stuff too. All right, couple messages. Doug in Atlanta said, I just had a chance to finish listening to episode 2791 about the DMCA. There's much that is disturbing to me about Content ID, but one of the scariest to me is a potential consequence of a situation Patrick mentioned. If I use a piece of material for commentary or review purposes and it gets flagged, not only can the special privileged few in the system monetize my work instead of me, they can choose to leave it up or take it down. In other words, they can control what is being said about their work. I'm not sure if this has happened. Yes, it happened to me, Doug. But I could easily see a case where a company chose to monetize for themselves content that is favorable and forced the takedown of critical commentary. Yeah, when I was working at Twit at Tech News Today, we did a story on Mega Upload, which was a questionable product, I suppose, but we were commenting on the Mega Upload video, and our video version of that on YouTube got taken down by Universal Music, even though we were a news program, and it took a day or more to get it up. And when you're a daily news program, that pretty much killed that video.
Yeah, this is, I hadn't really thought about this. This is a real double-edged sword here, and the idea that Content ID can both serve or be a problem for different companies is kind of weird in that they are the ones that get to choose. And I know it's impossible that when you're uploading millions of videos a day or whatever YouTube's getting now, for somebody to sort of be the arbiter of that. Like, that's the big problem. There's just no way to sort of manage that traffic. It's like a running faucet and trying to keep track of every water molecule that comes through there. And because of that, we have what we have. But I hadn't really thought about it that way. And there's these cases where I've put up a stink and they've backed off about something they said that I was doing wrong. And there's been other cases where they just flat out said, sorry, I can't show this video anywhere. And I have full rights, but YouTube doesn't have a way of knowing. So it's just a mess, everybody can agree. But I hadn't thought about the idea that they could, I don't know, sort of mess around with what gets said about them and what gets not said about them in a way that's a pretty nefarious way to do it. This is an interesting email, and it made me think.
Now, Sarah in sunny Seattle pointed out that if YouTube were to lose its safe harbor, they would then be on the hook for policing everything. They would have to police child safety, terrorism, political correctness. Everything an individual uploads becomes suspect by default. YouTube becomes incentivized to squash content under a better safe than sorry attitude. And the freedom of speech, not First Amendment free speech, that's a different thing, but your freedom to speak on YouTube would become a battle with a large and powerful corporation. Of course, this all assumes that the company can even afford to bear such a resource-intensive responsibility. But that's a great point too, Sarah.
An incredibly good point, and it's just such a. I mean, it really is like when the ants realize how there are way more of them than the grasshoppers. I always look to A Bug's Life to help me with my world's problems. You realize that when you're talking about this kind of numbers, we may have the. I mean, I don't want to freak anybody out. We may actually, at the moment, have the best way to handle this that there is. Like Content ID, as much as we all complain, might
No.
can do. Tell me a better way. Do you have a better way?
The DMCA and no Content ID. The only reason we have Content ID is YouTube is trying to pacify its partners in big content so that they will strike better deals with them. This is what I was talking about yesterday. It's billionaires fighting with billionaires. They don't care about you. The best system would be a system that says, hey, you're not guilty until proven innocent. They have to show that it's not fair use before they can get it taken down. That's not even the way the DMCA works, but the DMCA is better than Content ID, and we need reform to the DMCA, and we need reform to the Copyright Act that says these are the rules that will actually encourage people to produce things, not discourage them to produce things because they threaten the bottom line of billion-dollar corporations.
Right, and Content ID is a self-imposed thing by Google. This isn't like something that was
Yeah.
forced upon them anyway. This is them interpreting norms and saying, all right, well, here's our solution. I'm just saying this may be the best we get out of Google right now.
Yeah, you may be right about that. Pat, in regular atmospheric conditions, North Carolina, I love that, says, you mentioned Motorola doing away with the headphone jack, and Apple might be following suit. You guys keep talking about wireless headphone issues, but the use from my jack for the audio port in my truck is to listen to podcasts and music on my truck speakers rather than unsafe headphones. If all devices go this route, how do we continue without either having to unplug the charger or use earbuds? Nobody ever thinks about the poor truck drivers just trying to stay awake during long daily drives. And don't even get me started on that asinine self-driving truck crap. Okay, first of all, I think the self-driving truck might turn out to be a benefit for you, Pat. But leaving that aside for the second, they will probably sell adapters that allow you to use the charging port and the headphone port at the same time, and you'll be fine. The annoyance is that you're going to have to pay $20 probably for some stupid adapter to do this.
It is a virtual guarantee that there will be adapters. Part of this move may be a thinner phone. It may be a million reasons why these guys want to do it. More battery space, more space for the actual kit of the phone. But the bottom line is one added benefit to this is they're going to sell a crap ton of accessories. And they know that, and I don't even mean that in another conspiracy here. They really know there's money in that stuff. I will buy one because I'm going to need one if that's what happens.
Yeah. Same here. I have an aux cable in my 2003 car, and I will buy an adapter if that's the way it goes, if I had to.
Yeah, I would as well. So don't worry. That stuff will be there. The worry part is that, you'll probably have to spend another $15 to $29 for another adapter.
Boo.
Yeah, Boo is right. But the thing is, too, do we forever until the end of time want to just keep using 3.5 millimeter analog? Do we, though?
Probably no, maybe not.
Not forever is all I'm saying.
I don't like the Lightning port being the deal. If it was USB-C and that was just a new standard that we had to go through a little pain and agony to get to, and eventually all headphones have USB-C and a way to charge at the same time, then maybe that's fine.
If you believe some rumors that even Apple is considering USB-C and over Lightning, I know those are weak at best, and we don't really have any confirmation of that. But if that ends up bearing out, maybe, and we've got a new standard that would, essentially give us the same benefits of Lightning, but having all the other universal uses for it. So yes, Tom is right, and that will be a much quicker transition than 4 or 5 competing standards that eventually have to just give in and choose one, like 3.5 millimeter connectors.
Yeah, remember when we went from 1/4 inch to 3.5 millimeter? Wow, ooh, those are the days. I'm actually still doing that right now with an adapter right in front of me. That is it. Scott Johnson, what do you got to tell people about? Wait, what are you getting your adapter out?
Got an adapter right here. 4th 1/4 inch, and you can go put or a quarter or whatever it is, and you put the 3.5 millimeter right in there. I've got a lot of things going on, but I will just tell people about one easy one, which is all the stuff I'm doing and will be doing can be found at frogpants.com, all the shows I produce. If you like daily shows like this one, you might like the morning stream. I do Monday through Thursday with my co-host Brian Ibbett. Tom Merritt shows up on Wednesdays. We do a little segment with him and a bunch of other contributors. So that's a lot of fun if you're into daily podcasts and a million other things going on. So check it out, frogpants.com, or follow me on Twitter at Scott Johnson.
You, my friends, could be a co-executive producer of this show and have the right to show a business card that says it. All you have to do is support the show for $10 a month at patreon.com/DTNS. Huge thanks to every single person who supports the show in any way. Find out all the ways to support the show at dailytechnewsshow.com/support. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. Catch the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Justin Robert Young. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Boom.
Boom.
Boom, boom, boom.
That felt like a show to me.
That was very show-like.
Yeah.
Thought it was a good show.
You know how fast time goes? I'll tell you how fast. I feel like you were just here, and that was 2 weeks ago.
I know. That was 2 weeks ago. I feel like I was just there
That's really weird to me.
You were just there.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
We can hear ourselves back, Roger, if there's any way to put the headphones on. Typity, typity, typity. We got any Showbot headlines that we like? Mark of Paranoia Zuckerberg, perhaps? We the E-people.
I wish Mark's name was Mark with a C. That would make it more of a fun pun.
Yeah.
To say Mark of Paranoia would have been good.
What about if it's iRobot, you human, V screwed?
What's the V, though?
I think it's supposed to be like we,
Oh, V all screwed.
because it's an Austrian manufacturer of robots. Or
Oh, because it's German.
Hashtag robo-rights. We need some votes. We need some votes, Showbot, if you're watching live, showbot.tv. Because there's too many good ones in here. It's a bot world. That's your Turtles All the Way Down thing.
One or two.
Google's 5 laws of robotics.
We people. Mark of Paranoia. Zuckerberg.
Declaration of AI dependence.
Take me to the Tesla City where the batteries are pretty.
I want to hear someone record that.
Yeah. Do it like
Take me down to the
Guns N'
Tesla
Roses,
City.
yeah. Robot textinophobia. It's a hard one to read.
I think We the E-people is winning.
It seems to be 7 up there.
I kind of like that. Hits straight on into the middle.
Well done, Ken from Chicago, getting all the votes. Buddy.
Well done. Like a overcooked steak.
Actually, he's got 2 in the top 10, 3 in the top 10.
We're going to Casey Kasem him.
I'm Casey Kasem.
C-SPAN, Musk on Musk. Robot America, Civil... No.
We're going We the E-people.
E-people.
We the E-people.
We the E-people.
In order to
Sounds like a
get
song.
rights in the
No,
Europe.
it should be We the E-people in order to form a more perfect Voltron. See? Because the robots...
I was
come
going
together.
for a European Union thing.
Oh.
Because then that fits the rhyme scheme.
That's a good point. Man, I love those old cartoons.
What, Voltron? Have you watched the Netflix one yet?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
so good.
You
I
like
was
it?
Bored by the first one.
I
Really?
thought it was...
I love it.
I thought it's really just... It's not very interesting at all. I found myself...
Maybe it's
bastard.
just tweaking all my nostalgia bones or something, but
Definitely tweaks my nostalgia bones. I knew who Hunk was as soon as he came on screen. I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is exactly the same.
But, like, the stories are pretty dull.
oh
They're
yeah,
not-
it's pretty standard. I mean, there's nothing crazy happening story-wise, but
I would say, like, in terms of cartoon reboots, the best one I've seen so far is the reboot of the Thundercats.
yeah,
Because that is a very interesting story.
that was good. It didn't
It
last
was
long.
a good story. I mean, well, actually, that and the reboot of Masters of the Universe, He-Man.
Yeah,
those were well written stories. I mean, those were very interesting. Like it went beyond just a nostalgia. It was like, hey, we can actually take these characters in new directions, but also we can like tell stories we wanted to tell as kids. Like, what if blah 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 happened? And the whole thing with the Snake Man was awesome.
Yeah, I agree. That stuff was all right. I really liked Young Justice as well. There's been some really good stuff.
You know why they canceled Young Justice, right?
Because they're lame and they're stupid and I hate them.
Because they couldn't sell enough toys.
Oh, that makes sense.
I thought it was because they're lame and they're stupid and Scott hates them. I thought that was in their press release.
They couldn't sell enough toys.
Love that around here. That show is real cool.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
It's got Rhys Darby in it. It's got freaking Stephen Yeun from Walking Dead, and also what's his name?
What's his name? He's so awesome.
Yeah, so huge.
Also from Walking Dead, plays Daryl. I can't think of his name.
Oh, Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus is in it. This Voltron's cool, man. It's a bunch of tigers that all, or lions. Lions, sorry. That all come together and make a giant robot. They had me at that.
I will say that when they issue a toy, I'll probably buy it.
Yeah.
That's
also, I keep hearing that the story has real interesting twists as it goes. So maybe that story part gets better.
Yeah, I need to keep giving it a few more chances because also the pilot is twice to 3 times as long as the normal episode.
That's true. Yeah, it did.
The pilot, the premiere.
It was a little long, but they had to establish the whole let's go get our
lions
and make sure they match our personalities.
Lion.
Let's make sure Chunk or whatever his name is barfs 3 times. And
yeah. There's some good dialogue. It's got good quippy dialogue. I like it.
Yeah, it's got Murray in it going, band meeting?
You know, he's my least favorite aspect of that show. That's all I see, his face. I don't see the cartoon.
Oh,
I see his face when it
I love it. I was so excited to hear he was in it. Because I have a thing. I'm a sucker for anything he does. There's never a thing for him. I loved him in that.
Funny man. Funny stuff.
Band meeting?
I think I'm just going to make all of my cultural illusions from now on be circa the 70s.
All right.
Battle of the Network Stars.
Bionic Man.
Carson imitations. Bionic Man.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Sign me up for your dystopic future.
Chips.
I just need to watch a lot of the Dean Martin roasts.
Oh, those are great. Those still are great. If you find them on YouTube, like the jokes are still pretty funny.
Yeah, Ellie likes them too.
I mean, they're pretty off-color jokes, but man.
Well, they're weird, right? Because they're not too off-color, or they wouldn't have been allowed on broadcast television. But they're off-color in the sense that we as a society have moved past on being in good taste. They're clean and off-color at the same time. It's weird.
The best one of those is still Johnny Carson's Karnak, his skit on the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
That's always good.
This audience would laugh at Dinah Shore backing into a meat thermometer. See, it's like they're great jokes.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It was a pretty good bit. It was always fun. Even
well, and those kind of jokes, like backing into a meat thermometer, at the time, everyone would try to interpret it that in the innocent way. Whereas these days, we're all like, we know what he means by that.
Yeah. It was always a little subversive, but it wasn't apparent.
It was all the innuendo, and that's right. Some of the brilliance of the jokes is that they walk that fine line because they don't literally say anything lewd or
right. They couldn't get away with it.
But
Johnny Carson had his job because Jack Parr said water closet on the Tonight Show, for goodness sake.
Yeah, and so everything's an illusion or innuendo, and so that's what makes us what makes it funny is the cultural concept. Yeah, I know what he means. I forgot how much of a role that Ed McMahon played on that show too.
Oh yeah, no,
being a second fiddle.
He had to laugh and be that guy, or else
he was essentially a co-host. He was just shy of being a co-host.
Yeah, and he would drink enough before the show that it almost was its own co-host as well.
His drinks were also.
Yeah.
Roger got to meet Ed McMahon.
No way.
I totally I totally showed him how to use a webcam.
That's cool.
He is, at the time when he was still alive and I met him, he was one of the coolest.
He's not a
Celebrity
zombie up
ever.
there. He met a living.
I was I was hoping you were on Star Search or something.
Oh, I would. That would have been awesome. What would I do? I guess I could have done the junior dancing bit. Except I've never seen any guys on that. It was always girls.
It was always girls. Yeah, they had their sexism in stone there.
I do remember they did one where they had rock bands on, and one of the bands they featured was a Japanese metal band, and they won. Like they had like these really kind of outrageous outfits, like shoulder pads with spikes on it, like very Mad Maxy. Was that
Mad loudness?
Max it was what?
Was that loudness? Sounds like loudness.
Maybe.
Japanese battling.
But yeah, they won. It was great. The comics were really bad though. I did not find any of the stand-up comedians they had funny.
Well,
And then
yeah, because Ed didn't want anyone to threaten him.
Oh,
I don't know.
throwing shade from beyond the grave.
I know, right?
No, and the other one I always thought was weird was the spokesperson. Oh, I mean, I understood it, the spokesmodel. Like, oh, you have to wear an evening dress, a swimsuit, and then you have to say something. I forgot how it went.
Say something.
Yeah, like it was
a complete sentence.
It was
That was a
basically
way for them to do a beauty contest without calling it a beauty contest, right?
Yeah. It was a way for them to insert a beauty contest for the
Yeah.
eye candy. Like, really, who would stick around to watch a bunch of kids jump around dancing?
You should do a competition for Frog Pants spokesmodel.
I'm getting on it. Roger, are you interested?
Sure.
Spokesfrog.
Spokesfrog.
I'll wear a singlet.
I'm trying. Oh gosh.
If you're our spokesfrog, we'll turn you into a prince. Yes.
Oh, hey, have you seen the Brett and Reed? You know who Brett and Reed are? Those two guys that do those really funny commercials on a budget, local commercials.
That was
And
Rhett.
they did one.
Isn't that Rhett and Link?
Rhett and Link. Did I say
Rhett
Rhett?
and Link, yeah.
Yeah, Rhett and Link.
I was like, I don't know Brett and Reed. I do know Rhett and Link.
Sorry, I meant Rhett.
Offices of Brett and Reed.
I know Brett and Woods, and I know Rhett and Link.
They did one for the Salt Lake City Community College Beauty School.
We did.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah, we played it on
Good
TV.
offer. Yeah.
It was great.
$2 for a haircut.
Such a way. I know. The thing is, I've actually been in that salon or whatever you want to call the college school thing,
Uh-huh.
and I would never ever freaking get my hair cut there. Ever.
Really?
Yeah. It's like, how do I put this? It's all students.
Right. That's the whole point.
Which I understand, and this is how they learn and they cut hair and stuff. But I've never seen anybody sitting there getting up to leave, or that I've heard that went there that ended up with like a haircut that wasn't kind of a nightmare. So I don't know what that is. I never tried it, so I can't say for sure. But
It's only $2.
it's only $2. Yeah, you get what you pay for.
You know what? If you get $20 worth of haircuts there, eventually they'll get it right.
Yeah, just keep going.
You'll eventually hit somebody that's going to graduate.
Yeah. Although now they have a massage school there that's real good. They're cheap and they're good masseuse people.
Here's the thing. There was a point in my life where I cut my own hair
Mm-hmm.
because I was that broke. And Roger knew me at that point. I would have, if I could have found a place for $2,
You'd do it. Of course you would.
I
Yeah.
would have, yeah.
I have a record you don't know about. You want to know my record? And that maybe you'll look at me now and think, oh, well, that's obvious now, Scott, now that you say it. But I have never paid for a single haircut in my entire life.
Oh, because you've always had friends, family that were
I've
able
always
to
had my mom do it. So when I was growing up, my mom was
Yeah.
always doing people's hair, mine included. She did it with
Okay.
all the kids, neighbor kids, everybody else. And then in college, had a friend who did it. And then my mom still, because I was in town. And then when I met Kim and we started dating, from dating all the way through our entire marriage, she's cut it.
Huh.
So I've yet to ever pay for a single haircut. And I don't think I have okay hair. It's fine.
Yeah. I would have never been like, oh, you can tell.
But now it just feels like this challenge where I can never pay for a haircut now, ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I'm cheap. It's fine. I'd love, whatever. I'm sure they do a great job, but I just
I'm gonna get you drunk and take you to a barber. Break 2 streaks at once.
find a bar with a barber and do
You
it
can't spell
twice.
barber without a bar.
There you go.
All right.
Before
Well, that is.
junior high, my dad used to cut my hair, and he would sit me in the middle of the kitchen on a small chair, and he would cut a newspaper with a hole in the stuffed it around my head, so it'd be like a little what do they call it? Thing to cover you. And he would spend a bowl. I wish he would spend an hour and give me like the worst haircut. At least it was symmetrically bad on both sides.
I would get buzz cuts. My dad would, just take the clippers out. Those are pretty easy though. That was only in the summer. All right. Thank you everybody for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with Justin Robert Young.